All right, today is Saturday, May 17th, and I haven't done a video in 2 weeks. Some things came up, but I've been following the markets, what's going on both in the FX world and also the stock market, which has been on a really strong rally the last couple of weeks. But we're going to dive in real quick what I'm looking at, what I've been keeping an eye on the Euro USD, and obviously, of course, the pound and the yen. So let's start off with the Euro USD now. Based on the last video I did, I was talking about us potentially finding support all the way up here, and then once we started breaking this lower, then that was my signal actually to get out. But um, actually moved my stop up, and then I ended up getting stopped out once we started moving lower, close to 1.12. That was the marker I was looking for us to stay above 1.12, and unfortunately, still made profit, but it wasn't like anything I wanted. I wanted to, I was looking for a continued drive up to my main uh, target of 1.2 plus, which I still think that we're going to get there, right? But let me just go down and start on the daily chart and just give you my analysis, what I'm looking for, and if we are going to get there, what how I should say we're going to start moving up. So moving back on the trend line that I had up. Okay, I had this support connected to this resistance here, and right here we found a little bit of support. Um, Bounced a little bit, but then started coming down, and then we started breaking it. And I was like, okay, this doesn't look as good. We're probably going to head a little bit lower, and how much lower? Wasn't sure, but I took a wait and see approach to see if we're going to get how we're going to react if we start trading below 1.12. And we did get this. This was a gap. I think this was because the U.S. announced that it was making deal with China on tariffs, lowering the tariffs. But right after the very next day, we got a strong bounce up to the equal level. So, and then we pretty much have been choppy for the rest of the week. Nothing really major happened. Although on Friday we did get a little bit of a dip, but it pushed back up to close out the week. So I do have another long position. I started building long positions. I think I believe at a 1.1150, or was it 70? I'm not sure. I'll have to take a look, but somewhere in this area, I'm took an opportunity to go long and see if we're going to stay above 1.1, right? And part of the reason is because I feel like this might be a base here, and we might start trading higher. Now, obviously, if we start going below here, I'll move my stop up and then close the position manually if I feel like it's getting too much momentum to the downside. But I've taken a look. I feel like this is still an uptrend. And if I look below here at the MACD, I see what they call a hidden divergence. I call it a trend continuation divergence, right? If the market's moving in one direction and I see the MACD, making a lower low than its previous low, like this here, right? For me, this might be a potential, again, like what they call it, a hidden divergence, trend continuation divergence. And I want to see again is if we start getting that bounce right in this area. I mean, we also have it on the MACD as well. If I want to start in the same area right here. Okay, so is this a valid reason to go long? I think it is, as long as you use the lows, the previous lows down here as a base, or 1.1 as a base to stay above, then I feel it's not a bad trade idea, right? So I'm looking at that, and then I'm also looking at here. What's funny is I don't really use all the time, but I do use them sometime. It's based on your perspective on how you view the charts, right? Everybody just use trend lines, solid straight trend lines. Sometimes to give me a little bit of perception of how the market's moving, In my foundation of trading is chart patterns. I always look at the market in a pattern perspective, right? So here you can see, we're curving down lower and lower, and then we started getting a little bit of a, sideways movement, like I mentioned earlier, to kind of like a fluctuation, right? No major move up or down. But again, if we start trading a little bit higher, I could definitely see this getting back above 1.13 and then heading up to retest that 115 area, right? I'm not really surprised. I'm not surprised at the pullback. I'm a little surprised at how deep the pullback was, if this indeed is going to still be um, a bullish trade overall. But 115, I'm not so surprised to stop there, because if you put up the pivot points, right, we have, well, actually, if I put, those are the yearly pivot points, but if I put the 10-year pivot points, you can see it was a major, what I call intermediate levels that I have on, hit right on the dime and then pulled back, right? If I put the yearly pivot points on, it hit right here on the money. This is resistance 2, right? So if I have resistance 2 combined with that intermediate level, this is a really hot area for a lot of traders, either to go short or to take profit, right? If they're holding longs from down here or anywhere from up here, down here. So I still held on because I felt that we potentially were gonna find some support here at this median level around 1.1230 maybe, or 1225. But then we gapped down and we started moving down. So it was like, okay, so we're finding a little bit of resistance here. But again, I want to see what happens and see if that I should say 1.11 area is protected. That's actually closer to these lows here, right? So I tied this here, and yeah, I want to see I want to see this area protected if I want to have any confidence in this bullish outlook, right? If I go on the weekly, guys, I was talking about um, this expanding. I don't know what you really want to call it, expanding wedge, right? It's like a symmetrical triangle inverted. So it expand the trend lines to expand outward. So in this case, this is a bullish, a bullish case for me. And I was looking for us to, start out small. We hit this resistance, come down here, and I was looking for a push above this, pull back, and then a continuation to the upside. Again, my projection of 1.2. Obviously, we didn't get that. So right now, I want to see, we hit this resistance here, and we had bottomed out. Now we're stalling out. Are we going to find some support here and then start rallying? Or are we going to get like really deep? And then for me, if we're trading below 1.1, then that's probably going to negate that. But you could see, I left a nice wick here. We still have a gap. So, this is still a wait and see here. So my long position is not super strong. But if we start trading up and start trading closer to 1.13, then for me, that might open the door for me to want to add more long positions to get above this resistance area up here, right? If we take a look at the the monthly, this to me is still a bullish expanding pattern. So we have support down here, resistance, and I'm still thinking we're going to jump up and still hit this resistance over here at 1.2. There's a sneaky little broadening, expanding pattern down here. So I have it hidden, but if I put the trend lines right here, you can see how it starts off. It looks similar to the what I was going to say, the weekly chart, right? And you see over here, so it starts expanding out, and then I want to see if we're going to find some support here and then continue up and rally up. So this is actually, we're headed into, what is this? This is May 17th. So we still have 2 more full weeks of trading in May. So I want to see what happens with this monthly candle right here. If we get back up, I would say 1.12, 1.50 I would prefer. Maybe it'll be a little forgiving. 1.1230. If we close above there, obviously preferably higher than that, but this might just be a little pullback out of this break over here. You see the resistance here, resistance across here. I mean, we have some big wicks, but at the end of the month, we closed below that. So resistance all across here until we finally broke it last month. So I want to see what happens on this candle here. This is going to be really important, in my opinion, to see how we're going to end up, or potentially, if this is going to find a base here and find support, and then going into June, July, are we going to continue rallying up? So that's a really important outlook for me. And of course, we have a wide expanding broadening pattern over here on the monthly. So I'm still bullish. 1.2 is my projection still. Probably go a little above that, but for me, I am still bullish on the Euro USD. I'm bearish on the US dollar across the board. So that still remains my viewpoint, my long-term view, and I will add long positions on the Euro USD if I start seeing continued USD weakness. So let's move over we'll go back to the daily on the pound dollar now. This is still an expanding pattern for me, and you can see how it's expanding out here, starting really small, resistance here, strong base support here. Once we got, again, this is just like the Euro USD, we hit that resistance. I thought we were going to drive right back up again, which we did, but then it kind of just, it's just not doing anything. It's just pretty much going sideways for this looks like about 2.5 weeks, and nothing has been really, no major movement ups or down. I mean, if I draw a trend line here, right, let's put one there, and I don't know, I guess it's not really doing anything, right? It's just going sideways. This is a daily chart, so it remains to be seen what it's going to do here. But again, from the macro point of view, right? If I'm looking at the weekly, the monthly, or even the quarterly chart, I'm still bullish. I should say bearish on USD. So I'm gonna skip the weekly because there's nothing really clear on the pound dollar, although this does look like a broadening bottom pattern. And usually with broadening bottom patterns, you start off here, right? You have the resistance, now it's a support, and then it hangs around, and then it's going to, drive up higher. Not so clean on the weekly chart, but if I go to the monthly, you can see a little bit more clear. Whoops. You can see a little bit more clear, and I'm still projecting 1.4 for the pound dollar. So again, still bearish on the USD, and I'm still expecting for the Euro USD and the pound USD to continue higher. And then for the pound dollar, I'm expecting to hit at least 1.4 in the coming weeks, in the coming months. So if we take a look at the quarterly chart, you get that big wedge, right? This is the whole big macro view of the chart, and we've broke out of that wedge in October, right? And then we pulled back, and then finally, I feel like this might be a continuation. So overall, this is a bullish pattern. So I certainly expect 1.4 unless we get some major pullback, and it negates the whole thing. But I'm still expecting 1.4 on the pound dollar. Go back to the daily. Let's go to the dollar yen. Now the dollar yen has been tricky. Now I mentioned a couple of videos ago that I was short 143.30, and I kind of lucked out on this trade because we got that big bullish move to the upside, and then once we came down, I kind of felt that this was going to try to make a move back up. So I did eke out a small profit before this went all the way back up. But I'm not surprised that it went all the way back up, because if I look, first of all, you can see the broadening top pattern. Broadening top patterns have an outlook just like this, and I have it drawn. You see the trend line up here, and you see the bottom base. So we have this move up, strong support. You have another rally, another hard move to the downside, We got nice move all the way back up, and now we're testing this again. And I feel that after this move, we're going to continue and break down and go lower to my original target was 1.33, but I could certainly see us testing 130 somewhere around this area to test this area of support all the way back here. This is about 127, but I'd say 130, right? And the reason why, if we move over to the weekly chart, we still have that broadening pattern here, right? And I'm waiting for a break. But if we zoom in a little bit, I guess not my fear, but you can tell that this gap, I was like, we might shoot back up, try to cover this gap, and then move back down. So that's kind of what it did here. Didn't close the gap fully, but you can see this wick went all the way up to 148, and then pulled back, and it closed the week at 145 and change. So, is this sufficient enough for us to call this a gap cover, and then we start moving to the downside? That still remains to be seen. But overall, this whole thing looks bearish to me, and I'm still thinking we'll break this area of support eventually at 140 even, and start trading sub 140. So that's my outlook on the dollar yen, and it goes together with what I'm looking at for the euro USD. I'm bullish on both euro and pound, and I'm bearish on dollar yen. So that kind of makes sense on my viewpoints. So that's going to be it for the euro pairs. Actually, I should say the FX pairs. That's what I'm looking at, and yeah, that's pretty much it. We'll have to wait and see. I just want to make sure that we stay above this, right? If we start trading lower than this, then might have to reevaluate, especially if we start trading below 1.1. But I want to see what happens here, especially this little gap here. We tried to cover it, but we didn't get that rush that I thought we were maybe going to get. But we did get a strong rebound after that sell-off. I believe it was on Monday when the market gap opened in a gap down. So we'll see what happens there. We'll move on quickly to some ETFs I was looking at now. TQQQ is one that I like. This is on the daily chart, right? And we've had a crazy rally, right? All the way back here. TQQQ was down about 37, a little below that, actually 35, and rallied all the way to 71 and change. But I still don't buy it. I still don't buy the bullish case right now. And we still, take a look at this, right? You have this big move down, a little rebound, and then a strong, crazy move down. And then we had this crazy rally all the way back up, right? And this looks good, right? But if we take a look at the weekly, let me just zoom out here. If you take a look at the weekly, right, we had that broadening pattern on TQQQ. Really nice. It's a really nice setup, especially with this high here. We made a slightly higher high, then we had divergence, bearish divergence, both on the MACD and the RSI, and then we had that big spillover. And we, if you were trading this, I had some puts actually, I think all the way back on 70, 79. Obviously, I didn't ride the whole move, but if you were looking at a conservative target at 50% retracement out of this pattern, you definitely hit that. And then 60% was also another good target. So if we take a look at, we put on some what I call Tesla numbers. This is from the start of the pattern all the way to the top of the pattern. We bounced in between that 60 and 69.3% area. Then we have a nice bounce back up to that 30 to 36.9 area, right? If I want to use traditional Fibonacci numbers, we bounced down again at that 69%, almost made it down to that 76.8%. But again, I was talking about that conservative target out of this breakout, 50%. but 62% was was a solid area to look at to get out of this trade. I know it's 61.8, but I like to round them out. So for me, it's 62%. But moving back to the Tesla numbers, what I use 369. This zone was a hot area of profit taking, and a lot of buyers came in to rally this back up. But if we remove this and I go back to a monthly, I don't know. I don't know. We gapped up, crazy wick that left this, left the bears in the dust, and pretty much a nice, strong rally to the upside. There's still divergence here, so it's really curious. I'm going to be really curious if we're going to test these highs up at 85, 86, 87. But especially at Friday when I think it was Moody's that lowered the credit rating of the U.S. Right? There's no big surprise there, but I want to see how that impacts the the stock market coming this week, because right after this came out, after hours definitely tanked a lot of the ETFs I was watching. So it's going to be really curious to see how we open up and what happens next week. So another one I was watching too is Nvidia. Nvidia still same thing, has that nice rally all the way to the upside, but still has that broadening pattern. I'm curious to see if maybe we're going to make a new high and make a small little divergence here, get a lot of bulls back in the market and then just tank it, or this is going to end up being a large wick on the upside. So it's really interesting to see what's going to happen on the next, for the rest of the month. I want to see what happens with this candle right over here. One more that I'm looking at, I actually took a light position on SOXI. I bought a put option because this is a daily chart now. You see this wedge, we broke out of it heavily, right? All the way consolidated over here from $20 and change all the way down to $7. And once this area, found some strong support, rallied all the way up. Now we're trading at 18 and change. Pretty much we hit 19, but we're testing this again out of the breakout. So if I go to the weekly, it's a little bit cleaner. You can see we had that wedge, broke below it, and now I feel like we might be testing this area here. The market ends up going up higher, so be it. I'll close my position. But if not, I feel like this could just be a pullback, and then we're gonna test these lows down here, right, and see what happens. If I move all the way back to a monthly chart, I mean, this thing can still easily retest this low down here at $7, even lower. If you want to go by the book and use our Fibonacci or Tesla levels out of a breakout of this broadening pattern, let's see what we get. Look at that. It bounced right on the money at that 90%, and it moved all the way back up. So now we're going to test this area again. It's possible because we did break out of it, but again, we had a strong rebound, and I want to see what happens right here, especially what I just showed you on the daily and the weekly, that we had that breakout of that wedge, and now we're back up here to retest it. So very interesting price action and what we're going to get in the last 2 weeks of this month. So I'm going to be watching that. I'm going to be watching everything, especially a lot of the developments going on with Moodys, coming out with some downgrading the U.S. credit rating. You got things going on with the Fed, and then you also have Trump, of course, with tariffs. So it's a lot of stuff that can move the markets and cause some good volatility. So that's going to be it for this week. I look forward actually to see what's going to happen, but I will be posting another video for next week, and I believe the following I might do a little earlier. I will be in London, and not sure I'm going to be able to do a video. Obviously, from New York to London is pretty far and a lot going on for me. So I'm not sure we're going to be able to do it on the first week of June, but I will, if anything, I will post something on the trading ideas. So with that said, I hope you have an awesome weekend, and I will see you guys in the next video. Good luck and trade safe.